Hello, Renee.
Hello, hello. I don't know how many hellos we're gonna do today because we're stopping and starting for a new episode. So I'm
Yep.
like, yes, hi. Um,
So we are firm believers in batch recording, but at the same time,
yes.
we batch record only because we have so many things that we want to talk about,
Right,
and we
right,
know that it can't be just like one episode that has 30 different topics
right.
because you guys
Well,
you guys don't have ADD like we do.
right. And it makes it harder to search and reference them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we will
By the
stop and
way,
start. And so that just means don't judge us when you see us wearing the same thing, like in multiple episodes. It's not that we don't have any other outfits. It's just that we recorded a bunch of things all in one go. And the only reason that we're telling you guys this is because sometimes you will see an episode published and you're like, this seems not recent. And it's because it probably isn't.
that's
Oh,
right.
that's something that we can add um to our description, right? Like the original recording date so that
Oh, that's a good idea.
yeah, that
That's
way
actually
people can see
really
when it
smart.
when it comes
Yeah.
from. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense, especially the way things change in the stuff that we're talking about.
Yeah. And that's
Yeah.
that's another example of, like I feel like this is something that, we actually practice what we preach in regards to not just transparency, but also yeah, there are specific structures and processes that we like to follow because having guardrails is really it's like a comfort thing, right? Like it
Mm-hmm.
comforts you when you're doing something that you're not familiar with doing. But at the same time, we have gone against some of our structured plans because we have a conversation that's like incredibly relevant and the topic is relevant for that specific time. And if we
Yes.
wait to release that, then it's not relevant anymore and it doesn't make sense to like
Right.
release it 3 months later, like it's
Yeah,
just so
exactly.
it's okay to change structures, like to go outside of what the norm is and just kind of like go with your gut.
Well, and think about it like I think the best way to think about that is breaking news, right? So
Yes.
maybe your CBS News and you have these planned segments where you've done this ton of research and you're talking about this historical
Hmm.
um whatever, or it's related like a debate or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
But then something happens that is timely. You disrupt
Right.
that thing and then you publish the other thing later, right?
Yeah.
And so things get out of order of your
Right.
scheduling plan. So yeah, I think that's okay.
Yeah.
Um
And that's also the reason why we do we randomly go live. I mean,
right,
sometimes that's just a let's go live just for shits and giggles.
right, totally.
But other times it's like, okay, we're going to go live because this needs to go out like as we're talking about it.
That's right.
So, which reminds me, okay, see, going back to processes, right? Which reminds me, the last time we went live, I actually haven't extracted the audio for that to release it as a separate, like as a
Oh,
standalone audio podcast. And it just clicked to me that, oh, we should do that, or I
absolutely.
should have
Yeah.
done that.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But once again, see, it's one of those things that, imperfect action, there is nothing wrong with that. And honestly, I think that's so much better for the most part, than waiting for perfection. Because, perfection is it's not it's the enemy
But
because
it is.
perfection will prevent you from taking action.
That's absolutely correct. Because if we were waiting for perfection, we would never have launched this show.
Oh, hell no. No.
So
We
yeah,
launched it messy and
that's right.
I think it's very indicative of like us anyway.
Mm-hmm. 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 Yeah, it's
It's
true.
like, okay, let's just do it. Let's do it. Let's see what happens.
Yeah.
Right? Because
What's
what's the
happening?
worst that could happen? The worst
Right.
thing that could happen is, I mean, I can't even think of a worst case scenario because I feel like to me, I'm trying not to speak for you, Renee, but for me, like this is such a fun exercise every single time we get on and we record and have a conversation. It's just it's fun for me because these are things that we talk about anyway.
Well,
And
right, right.
Yeah. And instead of like repeating ourselves when we talk to our friends and we're like, oh, yeah, Renee and I were chatting about this. And they're like, oh my gosh, yes, tell us what you talked about. It's like, okay, well, let me try to remember.
Yeah.
Now,
Now it's documented.
instead, it's more of a, we've recorded our conversation and it's like, hey, you can listen to our
Or not,
ramblings
it's up to you. Yeah.
or not, yeah. But if we wanted to point people to where we talked about that specific thing that they happen to be interested in too, we can be like, listen to this, and we'll start the conversation from there instead
Right.
of trying to remember what the conversation was.
Right.
So, I mean, like I said, I think this is fun for me. It's
It's
a nice
very, very fun.
brain exercise.
I agree. I
Yeah.
agree. I feel very strongly about it.
Good.
Yeah. Hey, okay.
So
So what are we here to talk about?
I was going to say you wanted to talk about your weekend.
Ah, yes. Okay.
So tell me all about your weekend because
So it was my birthday weekend.
I'm like, I need to know. I need the tea.
Yeah. It was my birthday weekend. And
Happy
Andy has
birthday.
been asking me, what do you want? And I said, I just want to work. I just want to work. I just want some time where we sit down and we work. And she's like, yeah, but what do you want for your birthday? And I'm like, no, that's really what I want.
Yeah.
She's like, okay. So she went away and she thought about it. She thought about it. She said, okay, here's what we're going to do. We're going to get a hotel close by. We're going to go to the hotel. I'm going to get somebody to watch the dogs and we're just going to work. We're going to put together an agenda before we get there and we're going to work. And that's what we did.
And
So,
isn't that so funny that, like when I heard her, when she first told me that's what she wanted for her birthday, that she wanted to like lock herself away and just like be able to dedicate time to work. My initial, like my knee-jerk reaction was, oh my God, why? But then I thought about it and I was like, you know what? That's society. That's the societal reaction, like when it comes to work,
yeah,
because, you know, I know it's super cliche that when, what is it? If you enjoy what you do, you never work a day in your life or whatever it is.
right, right.
But the sentiment behind that isn't to say that only do what you love kind of thing. But when you have that kind of drive, like intrinsic drive and
Hmm.
desire to just do that thing, like that should be celebrated. That should be allowed. It shouldn't be like, oh, you're so weird.
Well, so and here's the thing too, and I think that this is important to understand for context because I try to be as transparent as I can. I was a full-time blogger for years.
Mm-hmm.
And then Google tanked everything, not just
Yep.
us, all
Mm-hmm.
website or most blogs, I should say, not all blogs. Some blogs
Right.
went through the
Most. Yeah.
roof, but most, especially in my strata. Okay. And so we both had to go back and get jobs, which has been very strange of an experience.
Mm-hmm.
And it also means that we haven't had the same kind of strategic time together as a team, my wife and I, as a
Right.
team to focus on our business, on the blogging part, right?
Right.
And so for the past year, I have been doing all of this deep research in my spare moments, trying to figure out a plan. What do we do now? How do we
Mm-hmm.
attack the problem now? How do
Yeah.
we, in a lot of ways, start over, right? We're very fortunate because we still have a baseline revenue that a lot of
Yeah.
people don't have, but it's not enough for us to live on. So
Right.
I
Right.
have been researching that question in my spare time. And I took some courses. I've gone through a lot of stuff. And so now I feel like I have a plan. But one of the things is I can't work the plan by myself because
Mm-hmm.
I'm only one person. And so, and also, even if I did try to work it by myself, I would spend an outrageous amount of time on my weaknesses. I'm
Yeah.
very fortunate that my wife and I complement each other perfectly. She's
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
professional editor. She's a good
Yep.
writer. She has certain skills. I can get really stuck on simple little things and
Yeah.
really, really stuck. So I have had to learn when to pass something. For example, creating picking images for our recipes, I can spend a week on one single image set because I get so stuck. Is this the right image for
Oh,
this
okay. Yeah.
recipe?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I get
Mm-hmm.
so stuck in that. But she's really good at it. So
Mm-hmm.
I knew I had a plan for us and for our business to go forward with, but I also know at home, it is nearly impossible to get these long stretches of time
Oh,
to
mm-hmm.
review all of this with her, right?
Right.
Because there's dogs and there's laundry and there's dishwasher and we got to cook and, all of these things. And since we live where we live, even getting food delivered is not a simple thing.
Yeah.
And so I said, I just want to go away and work. So
Right.
she found a hotel in Denton, which is like 30 minutes from us. And the twins came over and the twins are just some friends of ours. They
Yeah.
came over and spent the weekend and watched the dogs for us, so we knew the dogs were good.
Yeah.
And we went to this hotel and we sat in the lobby and we couldn't even get through all of it in that 4-day period or 3-day, Friday, Saturday, 3-day period. Um, because it was just a lot, but we got so much done. Just amazing things that we got
Yeah.
done. I trained her on the parts that I thought she would be best at. And of course, that
Right.
was almost a full day to itself.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Well, it was a full day. I mean, I think we spent like 10 hours in training that day down in the hotel lobby. People didn't know what to think of us, I think. Um,
Right.
but we did that. And then we would break and go to lunch. And then we would break and go to dinner. And then at night in the hotel, because we bought a couple of business books that I love, and we would just read the business books together at night in the
Mm-hmm.
hotel. It was great. It was just really fun. But so the first day was all about me training her and explaining to her what I thought we should do for the business. And then training her. So
Ah.
then she wrote down and took all of these notes. And then we turned it into, after she had some time to digest it, we turned it all into a process and procedure.
Okay.
And then from there, we divided up who would do what.
Yeah.
And then we created a method for how to track it and how to communicate about it,
Mm-hmm.
which we use Trello as a company. So we created Trello checklist.
Okay.
And then the next day we went through and we tested the process and worked on it together.
Okay.
And it went really well and we accomplished a lot once we got it all
That's
done. Yeah.
awesome. Like
Yeah.
that whole process sounds so satisfying,
Hmm.
honestly.
And then Saturday night, one of our close friends came to Denton and we went out to dinner. And so it wasn't just work. We did, some things like that. And that was
Yeah.
really nice. And one day, like I said, we went to the bookstore and got some books. Um, it was fabulous. It was just such a wonderful thing. And we're going to try
Yeah.
to do it 2 more times between now and my next birthday.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think that's such a great idea to do. Like, so this is something that I usually recommend to my clients, especially if they're like solopreneurs or not even solopreneurs, but they're like a small business with a small team and
Mm-hmm.
they are not just the CEO, but they're also they're the CEO, they're the visionary, they're the
Yeah.
project manager, like they're all the things. Um, and that is to set aside time on their calendar at least once a week where they've blocked off 1 or 2 hours and they call it CEO time. And that
Yeah.
CEO time is whatever they need it to be for that week. If that is um, you know, professional development, okay, then they block off that time so that they can focus on professional development. If it
Mm-hmm.
is
Mm-hmm.
to clean up processes, then they spend that time to clean up processes. But it's that time block is specifically for them as a leader
Yeah.
on how they can become a more effective leader and how they can continue progressing the company forward, right?
Right.
So it shouldn't be oh, this is the time where I do all the work. Like that's not what the CEO block is supposed to be for. I've recommended some of my clients that their CEO time is the time that they take to go on a walk because they say they come up with the best ideas when they're taking a walk or whatever. And it's like, okay,
Mm-hmm.
then great. If that is the time where you come up with the best ideas, no matter how like outrageous and crazy they are, then that is your CEO time. You block off an hour or two to go on a walk and then just like voice record your ideas or whatever it may be. Right. So
Yeah,
yeah. So that's the kind of
that's
stuff that
awesome.
I
Yeah.
feel like it's necessary, but also we don't take the time to do that. And if once a week seems too, like it feels like,
Ambitious.
yeah, it feels ambitious, right? Then like what you suggested, which is, okay, well, if once a week, it, you're just like, okay, once a week I'm taking away time from actual tasks that I need to do,
Mm-hmm.
then yeah, block off like a whole day or a weekend, an overnight, whatever it may
Mm-hmm.
be,
Mm-hmm.
where all you do is you focus on your company, your your growth, whatever it may be. But that's all you do. And it's
Right.
somewhere else. And because that's another thing, like we have to trick our brains, right? Because when I sit here, so I'm in my bedroom. So
Mm-hmm.
this is my bedroom. These are my bookshelves behind me. When I do work from here, it's a very different mindset and energy than if I'm sitting at like in my office at my desk.
Mm-hmm.
That is a different mindset and energy than if I'm sitting at the kitchen island. That is a different mindset and energy. Like there's different motivations
No, you're absolutely
based on
correct. Yeah.
space.
Yeah.
So,
I know that I sitting here in this chair,
uh-huh.
I only work on my job, right? The job that I
Okay.
got.
Yeah.
When I went to work on my business, I literally moved to another part of the house. I'm very fortunate because I have multiple computers, right? And I can
Right.
do
Yeah.
that.
Right.
So I don't work on Cooking Chew in this space because I tried to do everything in this space, but I learned
Mm-hmm.
that my brain didn't detach from one thing. I would think of something related to my job and I'd be like, oh, let me just go do that. Right.
Right.
And so I had to detach myself. So like on my laptop, I don't have anything to do with DFW website designers on my laptop. Nothing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because my laptop is only for anything that is not my job. So,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Cooking Chew and all the other projects that I have going.
Yeah.
So, because that was the only way I could do it. Because I
Right.
found myself working 12, 13, 14 hours a day for my job. And
Yeah.
and listen, if you're like, oh my God, I can't believe you're doing that. My job is I went back to a business that I used to co-own.
Yeah.
And so I call it my job. And so my best friend kept that business going. And then I came back to it when Cooking Chew collapsed essentially. And I've been helping him clean it back up. So
Right.
there's a lot of investment for me in the job because
Mm-hmm.
the better I do at the job, the more money I'm gonna make at the job.
Exactly.
So it's not a traditional job, is what I'm trying to say. So
Right. Right. Yeah.
working 12 or 13 hours is just in my own best interest.
Yeah.
But if I do that, then I can't get Cooking Chew time. So I have to balance it by leaving the room.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then just to balance that out, right? So Renee will work that many hours. And I know some of you are probably listening and thinking, that's insane. I can't believe, here you are talking about, oh, working for yourself is so great. And then you're working that many hours.
I'll do it
Yeah.
all the time.
Like that's what happens. But it goes back to when you do what you love, you're not keeping track of time like you
No,
would
no.
at a 9 to 5. Like when I was working a 9 to 5, I would get to work and all I would think about was I'd look at the clock and I'm like, okay, so in T minus 7 hours and 45 minutes, I can go home. All right.
Right,
Now
right.
it's six
It's like
hours
being
and
on a
20 minutes.
treadmill.
I can go home. Yeah. Yeah. So that's what you're looking at. You're trying to fill the time that you are required to be there. Whereas when you
Mhm.
work for yourself or you're building your own business, because once again, it is an intrinsic motivation. You're intrinsically motivated. There's nobody over your shoulder, although I wish sometimes there would be somebody over my shoulder saying, you need to get this done by this time. You need to get this done by this date. You need to focus on doing this. You need to complete this. But you're doing it on your own. Like you have to tell yourself what you need to get done and by when, because you're the one calling all the shots, right? Like you're the one directing you're directing the ship. You're pointing the ship where to go. And
That's right.
and if you don't meet that deadline, then that's on you. Like you can't turn around and say, "Oh, well, I wasn't told that it was supposed to be done by this time." It's like you set the deadline yourself. So if you couldn't meet the deadline that you picked, then that's on you. But once again, just to kind of like step back a little bit.
And to that point too, I think it's important to consider I don't normally work those kind of hours.
Right. That was the other thing that I was going to say. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. When I first went back into DFW website designers with Fred, DWD is what I call it. So I'm struggling over the name. DWD with Fred. There was a lot I had to come back into understanding of what was going on.
Right.
So there was a lot for me to catch up on, and there's a lot of chaos and confusion because he's been by himself for years.
Yeah.
And so I had to plug back into his brain. So I was like 7 days a week sitting here trying to plug back in.
Yeah.
And once I kind of got that feeling of, okay, I understand what's happening now, then I could back down and, go back to a little bit more of a normal working schedule. Because sometimes I don't hit this chair until like 10 a.m.
Yeah.
And sometimes I'll leave at 4 p.m. or something like that.
Yeah.
So you can't work those kind of hours. Nobody can physically work those kind of hours sustained.
Right.
And without some kind of burnout. Plus, it's very bad for your health.
Right. And, right. Exactly. And
yeah.
So
but also, well, just one more thing I wanted to say is I hate the phrase work-life balance because sometimes you have a season of work.
Yep.
Right.
Absolutely.
And if you're going to choose the path that we've chosen, then sometimes you have to make your life about work. And one more thing that I think is incredibly important to understand about my situation is my kid is grown and gone out of the house.
Yeah.
And so if you have small children, you can't neglect your kids. Right. And you shouldn't. I didn't work this kind of hours until she was gone to college.
Yeah.
So,
Well, and so I can speak to that too, because that's one of the things that on my side of the spectrum, my kids are still school aged, so they're, I mean, they're in intermediate junior high. So they're at the age where, for the most part, they're pretty self-reliant, like they can make their own food. I don't need to be making their breakfast, lunch, and dinner every single day. But at the same time, it's like, but I want to. And there is a very big difference in the in the work structure, in my work structure, when they are in school versus like during the school year versus the summer. Right. And it's not a straight up like, oh yeah, during the school year, I focus on work like while they're at school and then it's all peachy. And then in the summer, I kind of ease up. It's just like what Renee said. It's an ebb and flow. There are fluctuations because there are some times during the school year, like I can tell you at the beginning of the school year, so the first month of them going back to school is always incredibly chaotic, meaning
I'm sure,
I'm like, I have no structure. Like I have no work structure because I don't know what they're going to need. Because if they're going to take the bus, like I don't know what time they're going to be home because the bus schedule is still trying to figure itself out, But then once you get into a routine, then, after that first month of finding your footing, then all of a sudden it's like, okay, well now I can get into a structure. Now I can get into a routine because I know that I walk them to the bus stop by this time. I'm back home by this time, which means I can start on work by this time. And then I have 4 to 6 dedicated hours of, like splitting up the work between all the different clients. And then by this time, I need to like wrap up all the things that I need to be
Yeah.
able to like immediately access the clients, because anything that I need to work on later has to be like asynchronous, and I can do that after the kids have gone to bed, like, so you kind of like morph your work structure based on what is happening at the time. And
Well,
so it
and in
changes.
your situation, I'm kind of curious too, because with Lance's work,
That's the other thing with his
right?
schedule. Yeah.
Exactly. Do you kind of when he is in town, um,
Uh-huh.
do you guys kind of know in advance, like week by week, on the days that he might handle the kids getting to school or picking them up or whatever? How soon in advance are you able to plan extra time for yourself based upon his schedule?
It really depends. So
Yeah.
we've fallen into a routine of it's almost unspoken, but he handles like the morning stuff.
Okay.
So he's the one that like because he gets up early, and so he gets up early and he works with them to get their lunches ready for school. He will either take them to school or take them to the bus stop, because that's that's his opportunity to like catch up
Mm-hmm.
on time with them, because he had been out of town, or because he has to be at work by a certain, like, so that's his way of like spending time with them. And he's told them too, he's like, as long as you continue letting me like walk you to the bus stop or take you to school, like I'm not going to stop. So the fact that
Right.
he says that to them, I think it's very sweet. But also just
He's
he's
such a good dad.
he is. He's such a great dad. And
Yeah.
he's so willing to do that, like, because he wants to. It's not because he feels like it's expected of him. It's not because I have demanded it of him or anything like that. It's just
Right.
he wants to do that. And so once again, it was almost an unspoken agreement, because that's just what he does. And then
Right.
that means that it makes it does ease a little bit of that pressure for me in the mornings, because then I know that I can ease into my day, because
Mhm.
I am a night owl. Like
Right. Right.
I'm more likely to stay up than I am to get up early. Will I get up early? Yeah, absolutely. If I have to get up early, I'll do it. I mean, I'll be tired, and I'm not your typical like, I know I joke about it a lot, like I need my coffee before anybody talks to me in the morning kind of thing. But I people think I'm a morning person, and it's just my personality or energy
Mm.
or whatever. Like people are always like, "Oh my gosh, you're so chipper in the morning." And I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I'm so chipper in the morning, because if I don't act that way, then I'm just going to be a cranky biatch for the rest of the
Mm.
day."
Mhm. Mhm.
So in the mornings, it's almost like a fake it till you make it. Like when I get up, I don't know why, but my default is to just like, oh, good morning.
Mhm. I think you're
It's going
just
to
a
be a
nice
great
person. You're
day.
just a you're a positive, nice person.
Sure.
Yeah. I just mean
I
spirit
appreciate you
wise.
thinking that.
Yeah. So that's interesting. Okay, so does he get up earlier than you?
He does. He gets up earlier than I do.
Now, do you
That's
guys go to sleep
he.
at the same time or
So
I
okay.
only ask
So
because
we
go ahead.
go to bed at the same time, but we do not sleep at the same time.
Right, right.
So we'll
Okay.
go to bed together, but he will fall asleep like as soon as he's like anywhere in the vicinity of the bed, he's out, he's gone.
Oh wow.
Whereas
Yeah.
I mean, I will go to bed, but I'll stay up reading or, scrolling social media or whatever.
Mhm, mhm.
Um, but we go to bed together, but we do not sleep at the same time.
Yeah. I'm convinced my wife doesn't sleep because I don't know if I've ever been asleep after her. Like, in other words, if she's ever been asleep before me,
Uh-huh.
and I don't know if I've ever woken up and she wasn't already awake.
What? Okay, Andy
Yeah,
is an anomaly.
she really is. Because I don't like, well, I don't want to get into this too much. I mean, I'm not ashamed. Anyway, not particularly important, but I'm not a big fan of laying down, except in when I'm ready to go to sleep.
Sure.
Years ago, I broke my sternum, and so I don't find laying down to be extremely comfortable, like,
Yeah.
unless I'm going to sleep and then my mind doesn't think about it.
Yeah.
Um, But so when I go to bed, I'm going to sleep. I
Yeah.
lay down, I put my eye mask on, I'm done. That's it. I'm going to sleep.
Uh-huh.
But Indy, she goes to bed. Usually, if we're upstairs watching TV, she'll be like, okay, I'm going to go down, put the dogs to bed. She gets in bed. She does what you do. She gets in bed. She gets her laptop or her phone and she lays there and scrolls and catches up on all the things she doesn't know about. And then I come down sometimes an hour later. I go to bed, go to sleep. Boom. So
Yeah.
she's still usually on her laptop. And then I need at least 9 hours of sleep. So by the time I wake up, she's usually got the coffee going and she's already
Oh,
folded
yeah. Yeah.
laundry or done who knows what.
Uh-huh.
And I'm like, I'm convinced she does. If I didn't know by looking at this app on our bed that she slept, I would think she didn't sleep ever. Um, yeah, I don't
Yeah.
know. I mean, it's sleep is funny, but yeah,
But
I think
once again, different people have different requirements, right? Like
absolutely,
for the
absolutely.
longest time, like I function just fine on 4 to 6 hours of sleep, which I know the first time you heard it, you were like, "What the hell?
I know.
What is
I'm
wrong
so
with you?"
jealous. You could be
Yeah,
president.
no,
Um,
no. But like as I get older, I can still function on 4 to 6 hours of sleep, but I don't want to.
what do
And
you
then
need now?
also, huh?
Where do you want now? If it's not 4 to 6, where are you in the sleep scale?
I mean, I don't know, only because it depends on my activity level too. So if I am very
Mm,
active, so if I've started like training again, like running training, if I
mhm.
started training for a 10K or a half marathon again, and I'm a lot more active, I find, and this is really strange, okay, I find that I actually have way more energy and I need less amount of sleep, which is weird, right? Because you
It's
think,
not
oh,
weird. I keep hearing this is a thing, though.
is it? Well, because
That's what I hear.
in my head, I'm like, but I'm using up like so many resources of my body,
Hmm.
that I need more time to recover and repair and all that kind of stuff. But that's not been my experience. Like the more active I am, the more energized I am on a lesser amount of sleep.
I keep hearing that's true though. Like for
Okay.
people that they sleep better if they exercise. One of the first things that they recommend that you do if you're having trouble sleeping is start exercising.
Yeah.
That
And
you'll
now
sleep
that
better and you'll need
yeah.
less of it.
Okay, so now that you've said that, you've actually like triggered something in my brain that's, like it's going ding 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 ding.
Yeah.
That maybe it's not necessarily the quantity of sleep, it's the quality. So
Right.
my quality of sleep in those 4 to 6 hours, I'm I need to check because I have data on it, right? It's
Hmm.
probably like my deep sleep time is probably longer. And
I bet it
so,
is. Like, and
because
it's interesting that you
typically,
say that.
yeah, typically when I look at the activity of like my sleep activity,
Hmm.
like it says, "Oh yeah, you were in bed asleep or whatever for 7 hours." So let's say it's 7 hours. But out of those 7 hours, the amount of deep sleep that I had was really only like an hour and a half, 2 hours. And so when you look at that and it's like, okay, so that means that I was in light sleep for, 5 hours or 5 total hours, like that seems like it's not restorative. And it's not. Like the deep sleep is when the repairs, where the rejuvenation happens, like all of that occurs during deep sleep. Like your brain,
Right. You're right.
there's scientific studies that talk about how like when you sleep, your brain actually has like it's almost like it gets washed,
Yeah. It
with the
if you can't get
the
deep
CS.
sleep, you'll go insane.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So your CSF, like your cerebrospinal fluid, I think is what it is. It like washes over your brain and it's almost like it's cleansing. And you need that. Like you need to have that.
Yeah, it's literally physically true. So I just
I
looked and
need to find
Andy,
sources because I know people are going to listen to this and they're going to be like, "Where are your sources?"
oh well, yeah, that's fair, but we're also not giving medical advice.
No, no, no. This
Um,
is yeah, this is absolutely not medical advice. This is just things that we have read or learned on TikTok.
See, like this month, this is funny, let me give Andy's info away. She's averaged 6 hours of sleep.
Okay.
But on average, most months she averages between 7 and 7.5 hours of sleep. And
Okay.
she has felt more energetic this month than most months. So with the months that she has the least amount of sleep, um, she does the best. I
And
think
that's
that's
because she's
fascinating.
been more active and she's had like better sleep.
No, it's because she says that if she gets too much sleep, she actually feels worse, which I think is kind of your thing too.
It is like I get a
Yeah.
headache if I sleep too long. And it's not your typical headache. It's like it's this dull, specific headache that just lasts all day. And no amount of like ibuprofen or acetaminophen will get rid of it.
Like this month, I'm averaging 8 hours and 24 minutes of sleep. Which is interesting because like last night I got a lot of deep sleep
Yeah.
and I feel so much better. But I slept last night 8 hours and 42 minutes and I got a sleep score of 95.
Okay.
So
See, I'm looking at the past
yeah, what do you
year.
got?
So my past year's worth of data, it looks like on average, it's about 6.5 hours of sleep. Sorry, I'm trying to go back
No, no,
further
no, no. That's
too.
interesting. It's really interesting stuff.
Yeah, so 6.5 hours of sleep. So that was like January through January, but now I'm like looking at later. So I'm looking at August, right? August through August. So the past 365 years or years, days. This is fascinating because yeah, in the past year, my average weekly sleep duration, not daily, but my average weekly is 7 hours, 21 minutes.
Interesting. So you're closer to
But
8 than I would have expected. Okay.
it's closer to 8, yes. But it also says, because it like it breaks down like I said, the deep sleep and oh wait, I went
Yeah.
backwards.
Yeah, which is
Um,
fascinating too.
yeah, but yeah, my deep sleep amounts. So this one's 7 hours, 22 minutes, but my deep sleep amounts are in the 2 hour range.
Yeah, so I sleep on average right at 2 hours of deep sleep and an hour 40 of REM sleep.
Mm.
Does it show your REM?
Well, it shows me deep, light, and then awake.
Okay. Okay.
So my light sleep, like I had 3 cycles of deep sleep that like the longest one, I'm just looking at this one.
Yeah.
Um so this one specifically says 2 hours total of deep sleep, 5 hours, 58 minutes of light sleep.
You'll see yesterday, hold on. Excellent, click the wrong thing. Yesterday
It's
or
so
last night.
interesting, isn't it?
It is. Last night I had an hour and 42 of deep sleep and an hour and 31 of REM. And so how much deep sleep did you say you got last night?
2 hours
Wow, that's
total.
good. That's good. Yeah. Interesting.
I'm curious now, what it looks like the week that I was at camp.
Oh, yeah. See, I only get tracking for when I'm home because it's my bed, not
Yeah,
my
and see, so mine
device.
is my watch, my Garmin.
Yeah.
And the
Yeah,
thing is
that's really
like
cool.
with when I'm at camp, I'm super active. Like
Oh,
because
yeah.
we're
Yeah.
walking everywhere and activities all day long, right? So like so that's Sunday. Okay, here's perfect example. Okay, so we
Yes.
we arrive we arrive on a Saturday and it's just the counselors because we do training and then the campers arrive on Sunday, okay?
Yeah. Okay.
So that Sunday night, my total sleep time was 6 hours, 21 minutes or
Okay.
25 minutes. 6 hours, 25 minutes was my total sleep. My deep sleep was 4 hours, 1 minute, and
What?
light sleep was 2 hours, 24 minutes.
Holy crap. That is incredible.
And then Monday, total sleep was 6 hours, 57 minutes, 3 hours, 47 minutes of deep sleep, 3 hours, 10 minutes of light sleep.
That's really interesting. It would be interesting to note that. And then when you do go back to training for a marathon or whatever, you should compare that
Yeah, no,
to,
that's totally what I'm going to do. So here's
yeah.
another one. Total sleep out 5 hours 34 minutes, deep sleep 3 hours 24 minutes, light sleep 2 hours
Holy
10 minutes.
crap.
So the whole time that I was at camp, my deep sleep duration was longer than my
Yeah.
light sleep. Whereas when
Dang.
I'm here, when I'm at home,
Yeah.
look, okay, so we got back Friday, okay? So this is my Friday night. 5 hours, 8 minutes, total sleep, deep sleep, 1 hour, 59 minutes, light sleep, 3 hours, 9 minutes. You see how it immediately
So
switched?
that's so interesting because I also wonder if this is partially impacted by how you spend your time. When you were at the camp, were you on your phone before you went to sleep?
Yes. Yes.
Really? Okay, so that didn't change. That's
That did
interesting.
not change. No, that's my wind down.
Wow.
Yeah. So
Wow.
I'm either scrolling, I mean, until I lost my phone in the lake, but like I was either scrolling on my phone or I had my laptop and I was scrolling, the social
So
media sites I could access.
activity really does matter. Look at that.
Yeah. Look what we just discovered all together.
Or your bed at camp was more comfortable than your bed at home.
Oh, absolutely not. No,
No.
hell no.
Oh, okay.
My bed
Okay.
at camp, no, no.
Yeah.
Lance had to rig it because he's so seasoned.
Mm-hmm.
Um, he brought plywood.
Oh, wow.
So he
Okay.
he he brought plywood that is in the dimensions of the bed frame because they're
Yeah.
singles, right?
Yeah.
So he brought plywood in the dimensions of the bed frame so that he could set them down underneath the mattress because the
Mhm.
mattresses are foam and there's
Okay.
zero support on
Oh
these
my
mattresses.
goodness. Wow.
They are awful, like
Yeah.
awful. And so I show up with the plywood for my bed and he has it for his too. I get the egg carton foam thing. Yeah, so
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
I have my egg carton foam thing. I have my sleeping bag, but I don't actually sleep in my sleeping bag. I use the sleeping bag as an additional because I bring sheets.
Yeah.
So I have my sheets, but I add the sleeping bag as another layer and then that's like underneath the sheet and I sleep on top of that with my comforter and my weighted blanket.
Wow. That's crazy.
Like I said, super bougie camp, okay? Like when
Sure.
when when I say summer camp, I'm not talking like pitching a tent and camping on the ground.
Right, 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 right.
Like it's a bougie summer camp, okay?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
air
I got you.
conditioned, so it's cold at night, which I love because I
Yeah.
sleep so much better when it's
Me too.
cold.
Yeah,
Yeah.
me too. I
Yeah.
I tend like I actually got cold last night, which is unusual, but I had my bed cranked down to 65 degrees last night. And it was I got cold. I had to turn it up a little bit.
Yeah.
So I finally reached the temperature where it was just too cold. Yeah.
Nice. Nice.
But
The
yeah,
fact that you can adjust the temperature of your bed, like that makes me a teensy bit jealous,
it's well worth the
envious.
money, man. It's well worth the money. I highly recommend it if you
Well,
can spend it.
I love my purple mattress.
Well,
And
this is just a mattress. This is just a like a mattress topper.
oh,
Yeah, no, we don't actually have Eight Sleep does make a mattress, but this is just a mattress topper.
okay. Well, then maybe I have to look into that then.
Yeah, yeah, no, no, no. So it's just a mattress topper, and it doesn't impede my comfort at all as far as the mattress goes.
All right.
And so it just goes on like a like a mattress protector. It's
Yeah.
kind of like that.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's just like a mattress protector that goes over on top of our mattress, and
Yeah.
then it connects at the end of the mattress.
All right.
Because it just sends water through the
Yeah.
mattress topper. That's all it
Yeah.
does. And
Okay.
controls the temperature that way. So,
All
and it
right.
has all those sensors that get the reading, of course, for the sleep
Yeah.
quality stuff. But
Okay. I'll definitely have to look into that a little bit further. I
yeah.
thought you had like the actual mattress. That's why I was like,
No, no, they do
the
make a
fact that your
mattress, but that's
mattress tells you.
yeah, they do make a mattress,
Yeah.
but we just got the topper because we
Okay.
already had a mattress when we decided we wanted this. So,
Yeah.
I can't I don't know anything about the quality or softness or firmness
Yeah.
of the mattress. I don't know. This is just the
Okay.
topper. I think this is a better choice because then you can pick out your own mattress or you can put it on the
Right.
mattress have.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, they just sent us a new one because ours has a default or a
Oh, yeah,
bug.
you talked about that
Oh, yeah, a
before.
bug,
Yeah.
I should say. Yeah. And so we haven't installed the new one yet. It's just sitting there in our
Okay.
bedroom. It's
All
a bit
right.
of an ordeal. Yeah.
See, these are first world problems, but
Yeah. First world problems.
yeah.
Yeah.
All this to say that the takeaways from this episode, right, are set aside time for yourself to do the things that you enjoy and that you want
Hmm.
to do, even if that stuff is work related.
That's
And
right. That's right.
society may look at it as, oh, you're kind of weird and crazy. But, if you actually enjoy what you do, then why not do what you enjoy?
Right. Absolutely.
Especially if it happens to be, what you get paid to do.
That's right.
That's kind of
I
like the best of all worlds, right?
Well, it's lifestyle design at its best.
Yes.
Yeah. So
Yes. Yeah.
if you can be fortunate enough, and
Mhm.
man, we went through a lot of poverty to get here, and without exaggeration, a lot
Yeah.
of hard financial times to
No,
get to, yeah.
legit. Yeah.
Um, and
Yeah.
we sacrificed a tremendous amount to
Yep.
get to this stage. But if you can get there, then why not
Hmm.
do
Yeah.
it doing what you love?
Right.
So, yeah. And if
See,
you love
Renee and
it,
I have known each other a long time. We
yeah.
knew each other essentially before we even started, or before I started my business, right?
Yeah.
And you had left
The website company.
uh
Yeah.
the website company at that
Yeah.
at that point because you were trying to do something else. And
Hmm.
so she and I have gone through the highs and lows together, and there
That's
were
right.
a lot of lows. Like she and I
Lots.
we have cried to each other so much.
Oh, so much. So much of my life was spent just walking in circles talking to you about
Yeah,
the
mine
terrible
too.
parts. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Just like, what am I going to do? What
Yeah.
can I do? Like, how do I get out of this?
Exactly.
There's a lot of that happens. So if you're
Mhm.
going through that right now, like just let this be your not lesson, let this be your sign that it does get better.
It does. And
Um,
then it gets bad, like where I'm at now.
and then it gets bad, and then it
And
gets
then you get,
better,
yeah.
and
So,
yeah. And then after some time, it's not that it gets better and then stays better. It's a different level of better and bad.
right. I think like, at least in my situation, I can't speak for everyone because things are different for everyone. But now the low point is a new low point.
Exactly.
Right. So in other words, it financially, we were
Hmm.
way down here, way off the screen, and now, we were way up here, and now we're like here, you
Hmm.
know.
Yeah.
And so um that also comes down to saving money when
Right.
you have
Right.
the good points. Yeah, the good times.
Yeah.
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 Okay, we have strayed
So,
all over the place with this conversation. We're getting to the stuff that we really care about when we start talking about sleep. All right.
oh my gosh, yes, I know.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think it's so important. Well, and yeah, so once again, like that's just something that like you and I, we don't agree with the hustle culture. There
Mm-mm.
is a time and a place to hustle, but
Absolutely.
it should not be your constant. It should not be your like baseline.
Right.
It should be only when it's necessary to
Mm-hmm.
do it, because there are times where it's necessary to just like suck it up, head down, work the 14 to 16 hours or whatever it may be. But it's not sustainable to continue doing that throughout your whole career. Like
No,
that's
absolutely. It's literally
that's why there's
impossible.
such a mental health crisis. Like
I agree.
it's a very American thing. Like
That's true.
I'm not trying to be anti-American or anything like that, but it is very much an American point of view,
For
the
sure.
hustle culture.
I didn't realize that until I started interacting with people from other countries
Yeah.
more.
Hmm.
And like there's a family friend that lives in Germany that's German,
Hmm.
and he comes to the States often, and the first time I met him I was like, so what do you do? And he started telling me all these things. I was like, no, what do you do? And he was like, what do you mean? I've just told you everything I do. And I was like, yeah, but what do you do for work? He's like, what do you care? Why would you ask
Yeah.
me? He was
Yeah.
offended that I asked him about work.
Mm-hmm.
He was like, why would you want to talk to me about work? It's not like he was hiding his job.
Yeah.
It was just that he was so
It,
confused.
yeah. There's no, the importance that we put here in the US, the importance that we put on the job that you have, the title that
Yeah.
you have, is very different from other countries. Like in other countries, it is very much like, yeah, you do what you need to do to earn money, but that's
Mhm.
not what you do, right? Like
Right,
that's, yeah,
exactly. I mean, it
yeah.
wasn't like he was keeping it as a secret. He just
No,
couldn't understand the basis of the question.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He
Because
was
if you earn money waiting tables, what? So does that mean that you're not worth talking to because that's how you earn money, even though
right.
you do all this other stuff that contributes to society in a different way, like,
Mm.
and this is the thing that you care about. So
Yeah,
why should I tell you about what I do to earn money if I don't really care about it, but it's just my
right.
way of earning money?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Turns out he has a really high-powered, amazing job, but
Well, right.
it's just funny because he was just like, what do you even care? I'm
Yeah.
not working right now. I'm not here to do work. So
Yeah.
I don't
It's
want to
because
talk about work because work is dumb. So
his personality and his being, his persona is not wrapped around in the job that he holds or does.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
So anyway,
So
there
just
you go.
remember that, everyone.
Yeah.
It's not always about the position you hold, the company you work for, like what is it you like to do. And I every single time I think about things like this, it just brings me back. Like I'm not a Trekkie. My husband watches Star Trek, like he's a big Trekkie or whatever, but every now and then I'll catch a couple of episodes of Star Trek, and the society that they live in where they don't like currency doesn't exist. Like your worth is what you contribute to the advancement of society. And I'm like, that's
Wow, that's weird.
so important, because
Yeah.
yeah, like the positions that all of them hold, it isn't because they're like, oh, well, this pays the most. And so this is the job that I want. Like all of them, everybody on in or not everybody in Star Trek, but like in the show itself, my understanding of the characters and the positions that they hold is that's what they're good at and that's what they like to do.
Right.
And so
Fascinating.
that's how they get that position because they're they feel that call to, well, I'm good at this. I love doing this. This is the way that I can contribute to society.
Hmm. I like it.
It's a very different way of thinking. It's very utopian,
It
like
is
it's
very
a
utopian, but we might almost be there. We'll see.
fingers crossed.
In the
We'll see.
utopian
We'll
world,
see.
what would you do? What would be your thing?
What would be my thing? I've said this before,
Tell me,
and
I
and
forgot.
it always comes back to it. So, like if I did not have to earn money, I would be volunteering everywhere, like just
Ah,
all different things regarding kids, animals, whatever. Like if I could help somebody because of something that I know or a skill that I have, that's what I would be doing.
if I could do whatever I wanted to do, I would do this.
Yeah.
Yeah, this right here. Just learning things, researching things, sharing things,
Oh
talking
my
about
gosh, I would
them.
love to just learn. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I would do.
I consider myself a lifelong student too because I'm
Hmm.
constantly wanting to learn. By the way, I was telling my friend that you trolled me with that nuclear war book. Um, because I was texting her and
Oh
I was
yeah.
like, she said I would enjoy it, but it's like a freaking horror movie. Like it's like reading a horror genre because I'm reading it and I'm horrified
But is it
every single
not
page.
But is it not maybe one of the most interesting things you've ever read as far as how it's
It is.
structured?
It's incredibly fascinating. And
Yeah.
it is horrific though that every time I read something, I have to remind myself this is a fiction book, but
Right.
also
Right.
this is based on facts. So let me just like double check it, even though they've already shown me like this is
Hmm.
where I got this information from. But then I double check it and then I'm like, nope, I don't like that. That is real and accurate. And this is from the, you know, what is it? The Department of Defense website.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
like.
Yeah. Because like you're reading this fictional story and then she just pauses and puts in all these factoids.
Yeah. So
And
it's the thing is though, it's not necessarily a fictional story. The people in it, like the people that she's
it's a
following,
fictional scenario.
It's a fictional scenario. That's what it is. It's a fictional scenario, but all of the processes behind it, so all of the processes, all of the science, all of the like military strategy, everything behind it is real.
Right. It's hard to explain that until you start reading it. But yeah.
Yeah.
The scenario
like
is
the thing
fake.
that I texted you the other day, that was one of the things that like I had to stop and like put it down for a second because my brain was just like, what? And it was there was a specific phrase, or in one of the paragraphs there was like a sentence that was talking about how the military has strategies for like in the event of a nuclear attack, right? So the United States military has certain strategies and plans in place in the event of a nuclear attack, but the standing president is not privy to these strategies, but he has, or she, the president, the United States president, has 6 minutes to make a decision based on what all the advisors are telling him or her, what the potential strategies in place, they like the potential scenarios they could choose from. And I'm just like, excuse me? And then also I had to think about it because I was like thinking on, each specific president and wondering like, okay, so if something were to happen during this presidency, what would the decision be? If something happened during this specific presidency, what would the decision
how you
be?
think about things. Yeah.
Yeah. So just thinking, like going back and thinking that way, I was like, I don't like this. I have to put it down because now it's really scary again.
Yeah. But are you glad you're reading it?
I am really glad I'm reading it. Yes.
Yeah. My work here is done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll link the book in the description again
if
you missed it from the previous one, because I think it really is that good. Like
I ordered your book that you recommended to me from Barnes and Noble when I was in Denton, but they never got it for me. So I guess I need to just order it from Amazon.
Okay. Yeah.
Because they said they were ordering it, but it never showed up.
Maybe it takes a minute.
They said it would be 1 to 2 days and they would email me. And that was a week ago.
Okay.
So yeah.
All right. Whoops. Yeah. All right.
I figure, well, I'll wait and see. And then when I get ready, because I have a couple of books in front of it. So
yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Yeah. Okay. Well, on that note, I'm going to finish eating my lunch.
All right. I'm going to go check on my mom.
Yes, your mom. That's right. Yeah.
That's a story for another time.
Yes.
She's fine, everyone, by the way.
Yeah. She's totally good. Yeah. She's good.
She's in my kitchen right now. So
yeah. Maybe she's
that's
making you some lunch.
I mean, but I'm going to go check on her because she's in the kitchen with my kids, and I need to check and make sure they're all doing okay.
Maybe they made some cookies.
Oh, I wish, but I doubt it.
Yeah.